Hello Evertonians and welcome to the All Together Now podcast. I'm Tony Scott and joined by, as ever, Greg O'Keefe and David Hughes, and we've got some exciting news to say from Everton Football Club as Carlo Ancelotti has been announced as Everton's permanent manager. We're going to get the guys' thoughts on that. Duncan Ferguson has been given a big coaching role at the club. Get our guys' thoughts on that, and obviously the players, what will they think of that? Be interesting to get David and Greg's thoughts on that too. First up, Greg, Carlo Ancelotti is the Everton manager. Did you ever think that would happen?
No, I didn't. It's genuine wow moment, isn't it? In the sort of, without being overly dramatic, the history of Everton Football Club. He's arguably, I was thinking about this, he's arguably, if not, he is the most famous manager we've ever appointed in our history. Really.
Yeah.
We've had managers who've come to Everton and achieved greatness. But managers of his level of achievement coming to the club already, I think he's up there. He's standing alone. It's amazing. I never thought that this current Everton could attract someone of his ilk. Maybe down the line of the Moshiri project, if you like, when we've already got into Champions League, in my daydream, and possibly then you could have attracted someone of his calibre. But now, no, I'm astounded in many ways, although obviously it's something that we've been aware of, trundling on behind the scenes for over a week now.
Yeah.
But to see it over the line and to realise that he is going to be the Everton manager, it's and fantastic news as well. Really pleased.
David, can you visibly see Carlo Ancelotti as the Everton manager in the dugout? But I just can't imagine it. Can you?
No, it does seem quite surreal actually. Yeah, and it's. Ever since it was kind of broken last week, we had a podcast a week or two ago where I kind of made my opinion clear on it. But once I knew Everton were going down the route of potentially employing someone with a short-term vision, I suppose you could say, there's absolutely nobody better out there currently than Ancelotti. To actually get it over the line is fantastic because, like the rest of us, it sounded great, but I was concerned with it being Everton that it wouldn't get done. But obviously it has, and it's great news. It's exciting times.
What do you make of it?
You look at because you're an Evertonian and the Everton fan in yourself, you always goes, what's the catch? What's going to go wrong? Why is he? We all know why he's here. Obviously, there's a big pay packet at the end of it. But you always think it's just a little bit of glimmer of, I don't know, something in the back of your mind is waiting for something to, I don't know,
to go wrong.
Yeah. It's an unbelievable statement from Everton. Unbelievable. If I was to say to you, Greg, at the start of this year, Everton would have Carlo Ancelotti as the Everton manager, you would have laughed at me.
Yeah.
And I find it's exciting, don't get me wrong, it's fantastic. And you look at his CV and it's just unbelievable, isn't it? The teams he's managed. And I've seen a lot of fans and obviously opposition supporters going, he's gone to Everton, he's not going to be able to do it at a lower club, and he hasn't come to a project like that before. But Everton are a bigger club than Napoli.
Yeah.
Well, Napoli have won 2 leagues in the history. I know they've been in and out the Champions League over the last 10 years, but Everton are a bigger club than Napoli.
As Gav would say, football existed before the UEFA Champions League.
It did.
It's like everything in life sometimes, it's about timing, isn't it? Now, people did laugh about suggestion that we were going to try and get Simeone back in 2017, and the fact that we'd asked about Pochettino when he, after he'd been sacked by Spurs, and he declined, didn't want to come to Everton. But really, we've got a manager who's been more successful than both of them, and is arguably a bigger or as big a name as both of them. So, if he was still at Napoli, you'd be looking at the same old list of ropey candidates that we've been pouring over for weeks.
Yeah.
But he was, he'd lost his job there for mixed circumstances, not really of his own making. And all of a sudden, Moshiri and the team around him and his advisors have struck when the opportunity beckoned and delivered, got it over the line.
How have Everton got one of the? He's in the top 10 best managers in the world, isn't he?
Yeah, okay.
How have Everton got him?
I think, touching on what Greg said there, I think the stars have just aligned just at the right time. He's made his intentions clear. He wants to come back to the Premier League. Now, the real top jobs as you'd build them are probably secure. Guardiola at City, Klopp at Liverpool. United seem to be sticking with Solskjaer. Mourinho's just gone to Tottenham. Maybe Arsenal, but we know Arsenal were kind of in and around the frame. It was between those two. And I think, take those clubs away, we are the next best thing, I think. We got a wealthy owner, got a new stadium on the way. I know we can give them a hard time sometimes, but we've got a solid core playing staff. So I think for all we say about Ancelotti, there is appeal to this project. We have.
Is there though? Is there?
No, well, hear me out. Yeah, I do. That term "sleeping giant" has become a bit of a term of ridicule, hasn't it? But in reality, why isn't it? Everton have been a successful team in the past, and yet, okay, they've had difficult times. Longest spell without a trophy currently in the history. But I still think there's good foundations to be a really big club again. I do. And now you've got Ancelotti there. Suddenly you're thinking, suddenly players want to come and play for this manager.
So he's going to attract different calibre of players.
Exactly,
Do you think this is bigger than Benitez going to Newcastle?
Yeah,
I do.
Massive.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, massive.
I think Ancelotti's a much bigger manager than Benitez.
Yeah, the CVs.
So,
straight away.
Both successful, but Ancelotti more so.
Yeah, definitely. How do you think for Hamashiri, obviously excluding the pound signs, how do you think he sold this to Ancelotti?
Excluding the pound signs, it's difficult, isn't it? But there obviously has got to be a little bit more than that, as you say. Ambition, sheer ambition, and that's where I'm sorry to say I can't exclude the pound signs, because he's obviously said to him that he'll have a big budget to spend. I'm amazed if it becomes apparent that he's not been told he can spend in January and the summer. I think he's here now with the intention that he can make his own stamp on this squad. He's probably still going to have some responsibility for getting rid of certain players and keeping the squad in a healthier shape. I can't really see the sense of just allowing him to a bloated squad to go even bigger. But anyway, it will be ambition. Now, people talk about like the Bramley Moore, just over the road from obviously where we are. I'm not really sure that will have been sold to him as, you can lead us into this new stadium, because realistically, he'll know football often isn't like that. It's like that.
He doesn't stay for longer than 2 years.
He doesn't. That'd be a big if. So I don't think that would be his concern as such. Although knowing that the club are committed to that and seeing the plans might have added into the general feeling this is a club going somewhere.
I just think it adds authenticity to the ideal of being an ambitious club. So I agree. It's not necessarily going to be you'll take us there, but here's the proof that this is more than just words. This is a club that does have ambition.
Do you think when he first walks into Finch Farm and sees the players, what do you think his instant reaction to be? He can get more out of them?
Look, let's be honest, the side he's walking, it's probably going to be the worst side he's managed in about 15-20 years. But there's still some good players there, and I think if they can strengthen in certain areas, it's a good squad. If you look at some of the teams in the league, there's not a ton of players you go, well, take him for that, take that. There is a solid squad there. It's just all about, which we didn't necessarily do in the summer, it's all about strengthening it in the right areas.
One thing I said last week, didn't I, about excuse me, I think he will get the respect of players, and all of a sudden we've seen a sea change in Everton players with Duncan Ferguson, because the players can't hide. They can't hide now. They can't hide behind Silva, Martinez, Allardyce, Koeman. They were all excuses. Ferguson got every ounce of sweat out of these. So all of a sudden Ancelotti walks into Finch Farm, and then players have got no excuse not to perform, because he's one of the best managers in the world. So they can't hide. They can't hide no more. I think that's a massive point to that. He's gonna have the respect, and I don't think not one manager Everton have had in the past 10-15 years has had that. I think it's massively important.
If you don't perform for Ancelotti,
you're gone.
You're not going to make it, are you? It's as simple as that. So I think that'll be huge.
We've seen a lot of stories surfacing social media, and obviously in the media as well, of other supporters and journalists not quite happy on the idea of Carlo Ancelotti joining Everton. As I just touched on before, obviously there's something in the back of your mind that kind of puts you off, because is it too good to be true? But why would it be so? Why can't people have nice things? Why is it got to be a negative thing?
I think we said, didn't we, and Gav said, for a big clock, which we were giving him stick about yesterday when we had Goodison. People are entitled to articulate not mixed thoughts, but you know, we're Evertonians. We know things can have a penchant to go wrong, and it's almost normal to be like, whoa, well, where's the catch? Like you said at the top of the programme.
Manchester City supporters probably always thought like that,
and it's understandable as well to question whether he's the right fit. But what I resent is I resent the opinion, no fellow fans' opinion, but the opinion in some strands of the media that Everton shouldn't go for Ancelotti, because what I fear it reeks of is stay in your lane, Everton.
Yeah.
Don't get too successful, Everton. Don't take too many risks. Go and get a Moyes. Go and get a Chris Wilder. Go and get an Eddie Howe, and just sort of stay.
Yeah. Do you just stay below? Don't come anywhere near that 6th place. And well done.
And if you know, we record another pod in 12 months or whatever, and it's all gone out horribly wrong, and he's been sacked or left, and then I would still say, at least we tried.
Yeah. At least we've got one of the best
managers. And at least we've got an owner, a majority investor, with that ambition. Because without that ambition, we're never really going to go anywhere.
Of course.
That's getting clipped, you know.
Do you echo them sentiments, David?
Yeah, no, I do. Listen, I have to acknowledge, I made my opinion clear on where I think Everton should go as a club on the other pods. Obviously, they've since, as I said, they've gone down this route, which I'm fully backing now. I'm excited by Ancelotti, and I do think it's ambitious. I think some of the kind of key things that he's bringing a name. You know, he's putting Everton really on the map again. I think, you know, this news of him signing with Everton is going to break across the whole of Europe.
Of course, yeah.
And suddenly people are thinking, whoa, Everton. You know, there'll be players there thinking, I'm keen to play for Ancelotti. And I think a massive thing that we haven't touched on yet is everybody is on board with this recruitment of Ancelotti, the whole fan base.
Yeah.
We haven't had that really.
You're right.
Martinez. So already there's managers that have come in and been on the back foot. Now, I think Ancelotti could lose 3 games and people wouldn't be fucking saying get him out, you know, because he's going to have patience, and that's going to be key to be successful.
And what makes you laugh though, obviously Liverpool fans and some parts of the media, they're saying like, oh, Carlo Ancelotti, he's out your league and all this nonsense. No, if Klopp ever leaves, well, say if he was to leave right now, Jurgen Klopp and just and on his resignation, and I bet you Ancelotti would be top of the list, he'd love to get in.
Well, it's funny, you know, because I read certain pieces this week about Ancelotti not being the right person for Everton, but I noticed similar people weren't saying that when Ancelotti was favoured for the Liverpool job before Klopp, and it was a 50-50 split between the two, and this was only 4 years ago. You know, he's been at 2 clubs since then. He hasn't failed really either. I know he got dismissed, but that's how a manager seems to end up.
Every manager gets.
He was still fairly successful at both. So not much has changed. So it's quite ironic, isn't it, that for Liverpool he was a genuine candidate, still at the top of his game, but now for Everton it's potentially must.
And what makes you laugh as well, sorry Greg, is that when you say, oh, who's the perfect fit for Everton? But Ancelotti isn't the perfect fit. Well, who is? Was Silva the perfect fit?
Well,
was Koeman? Was Allardyce?
This is what I was going to say.
Stay in your lane, Everton.
This is what I was going to say. You've got people credibly arguing still, and the voices will still remain there. If it doesn't go wrong, God forbid, for David Moyes. You know, you couldn't literally have a bigger contract. And David Moyes did well with Everton, and I have to keep saying this because sometimes we forget. He was success isn't the right word, but he brought the club forward. He did very well, and he went on to manage United. So he's got a high profile. He also went on to fail at United, as we know. But he's well away from Carlo Ancelotti, and thank God we haven't gone back there.
Imagine looking at them 2 CVs in front of you.
Moyes
and Ancelotti's.
Imagine them coming in. What are the players saying between themselves? Because everyone just sees the players, don't they, as robots. But in reality, they're like those 4 you know, they've got WhatsApp messages, they're talking, they'll all be, I don't care what anyone says, they'll be buzzing with that. Keane will be thinking like, oh, I've got someone who speaks my native language here, rather than potentially looking like he might be showing the door in January. He'll have someone who's going to be able to put their arm, because this is what I like about Ancelotti as well. I've said this a lot already in the pod. He's a fantastic man manager. Yeah, he's a good tactician, but he's a good man manager. I think he'll get the best out of the players, and they'll all be saying, now we're going to be playing for Ancelotti here.
Yeah.
Imagine if it was Moyes coming in. They'd all be like,
chins hitting the floor.
forget this place, I'm not sticking around here.
Yeah. And that also another thing that, again, that infuses me, that, you know, there's always that one red in your life, isn't there, who's actually got a good opinion, goes the game, knows what he's talking about. I was speaking to my version of that cop-out, and he was saying how massively impressed, and this is like, obviously he's a good manager, but just from a very recent example of the number he's done on Klopp this season, obviously in Naples
and last season
and
as well.
Anfield and last season. So tactically I think he's as good as ever. Like, alright, it hasn't worked out massively at Napoli, but I don't think that's largely down to the fact that he's passed it or he's a busted flusher.
Let's just remember that, I'll keep it short because we already know the story, but at Napoli the owner wanted the squad and the manager to stay on the training site for a week, like an intense training camp. Ancelotti and his staff stayed. It was the players who refused to, and the owner blamed Ancelotti for not making them. I don't particularly hold Ancelotti in any sort of fault for that, and that kind of spiral to this poor form that they had on the pitch, to which Ancelotti paid the price. For me, as far as I'm concerned, that doesn't send any alarm bells my way.
You look who he played for as well. People like Arrigo Sacchi's some of the most famous managers in the world.
He's one of the most influential managers of all time.
I think obviously one bit of good news as well as this is Duncan Ferguson remains on the payroll. He's got a big coaching role, Greg. Obviously, as well as Ancelotti's backroom staff. Massively important in my opinion. I think not just because of the situation that he gets Everton and he's an Evertonian, he ticks every box. I just think because of the last 2 weeks, what we've seen, he'll have seen players. This is just my opinion, by the way, is that I think there's certain players in the Everton squad that could have put themselves through the pain barrier lately, who haven't played, who haven't come near the squad. And the likes of Mason Holgate, Tom Davis, you've seen Leighton Baines, 35 years of age, hasn't kicked a ball since February. All of a sudden he's playing 3 games in a week, probably having injections and painkillers. Coleman's another one. I think these players, hopefully Coleman, we go, do you know what, these are the lads you want on board in this dressing room. There's players in here that are just, do you know what, I don't think he wants to know. I'm not hoping there's someone, it's massively important that someone who's been in that dressing room and seen the faults of Martinez and Koeman and Silva and Allardyce and can go, do you know what, have a bit of that to Ancelotti and work with that. It's massively important in my eyes.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and we've gone on our last pod and made into how much what are unexpected in some quarters in terms of tactically, but it'd be interesting to get your take on that as well before we move on from Ferguson, what he's shown tactically, but just everything else he's brought to the table. Gutted for him I was gutted for the football club and for all of us on Wednesday night, but nevertheless it's just underlined how important and how relieved we are that he is going to be part of this new era, and a more significant part than he has been at any point until now.
I do wonder whether he's got some sort of displayed some really good like managerial credentials, because you only have to look at Old Trafford. For me, I thought that was a master stroke what he did with Holgate. He didn't allude to anything. He was happy for everyone to think it was a 5 at the back formation. And one thing that very few people picked up on, he lined up a kick-off with Holgate in the back 5, and then as they kick off, he steps forward 10 yards. So straight away, bear in mind, Solskjaer has said in his pre-match meeting or to the players, everyone's got a role to play. They've got to do this, do that. Midfielders, you're tracking him, you're doing this. And suddenly with that one switch, they've got to...
Everything's gone out the window.
They've got to kind of regroup.
Kind of hasn't got a plan B then, has he? Because no one would... Evertonians didn't think that.
Well, what they're doing after, they're then adjusting in game, aren't they? Which you're already on the back foot. And I just think that was really smart by Ferguson. I think he's been a lot more tactically astute than perhaps we give him credit for. This sounds like I'm being rude, and it's not, but I imagined him to be a bit like of a glorified cheerleader, with heart on the sleeve type stuff, fight for the club, and in reality, every time I listen to him talk about football, I think he's been quite smart. I've been impressed by what he said. So if you compare his interim regime or reign compared to Unsworth, it shows.
What will he learn from Carlo Ancelotti, Duncan Ferguson?
Well, his education, the curve of his education couldn't get any better, could it? He's seen bits of good things from some of the managers he's worked under. He's seen lots of bad things and what not to do, from Martinez, from Koeman, from Sam, from Marco Silva. I mean, what a rich learning experience that's been. Young, hungry coaches, possession football coaches, long ball merchants, you name it, he's seen it. And now to continue learning under one of the best managers in the modern game, fantastic. And what will he learn? Hopefully he'll get that already, as David rightly said there, that tactical savvy that he's already got clearly, that will only deepen, and it'll only add more strings to his bow by watching Ancelotti and how he works with players, and it can only make him a better manager in the long term, and hopefully a better Everton manager in the long term.
Well, we were talking briefly when we were coming down, and he said you wouldn't have thought like 3 years ago that Everton would have had a billionaire in charge, ready to move onto the waterfront, have Carlo Ancelotti as your manager.
I would still be complaining.
Oh yeah. Jokes
no, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Joking aside, David, is Carlo Ancelotti now that difference where I know we got knocked out on the lottery of penalties, but is he that difference now? Just him in his presence and his tactical awareness in these big games. You've seen a CV, wins finals galore. When we go to Anfield in the FA Cup next week, things like that, he's got that mental edge where we've never had that in the past. Big games, it's typical Everton, and you get to the semi-finals, the finals, and obviously the kicks fall off. As someone like Ancelotti now, is he going to bring us that next step?
I think so, yeah. You know, a lot of these games that you talk about in the past, it's been a case of trying to make winners out of the players with a manager who hasn't yet proven to be a winner. Whereas now you've got someone who's seen and done it on numerous occasions, not just the odd domestic title in a little known league. He's done it all everywhere, and he's now leading these players, which I think's massive. I think he can turn some of these players into winners, and I think I was so heartbroken by the defeat on Wednesday night, because I thought if we could get through, I'd fancy him to take us all the way.
Oh yeah.
And that's why I was so disappointed that we didn't. You know, maybe we can do that in the FA Cup.
Do you know what as well? What his track record suggests? He's never been one to lose a dressing room or to let it get toxic or to let his mood or the pressure he's under. And don't forget, he's been under pressure at a lot of clubs. He's got sacked.
Everywhere.
Sacked by a lot of big clubs, but only after delivering success or going
sacked at Goodison Park.
Pretty close.
Even that season, he finished second.
Second in quarter-finals of the Champions League. But anyway, it was a different era under Chelsea.
Well, they said they wanted a style. I think in reality they saw Villas Boas, didn't they, in Porto, and thought he was this next big thing, and obviously he didn't.
But he's not one, I don't think, who's gonna let the play. He's not gonna let lose players or let transmit that pressure, or like the way Silva. I do have my sympathy for Silva towards the end. It's obviously about the way it was handled and what have you, but when we went into that derby, we were as good as big before kick-off, weren't we?
Yeah, he just didn't even want it.
Yeah, I just can't see that. I just think he's got double thick skin. He's seen it all, and let's hope he's energised up for the challenge. It sounds positive from what he's been saying anyway.
Just going to throw a spanner in the works. What do you think Marcel Brands makes of this?
It's a good question.
I've looked into it, by the way, and someone's actually tweeted me about it as well, because I spoke about it on another pod. He's worked with directors of football everywhere he's been.
Ancelotti has?
Yeah. Brands, I don't know. I imagine Brands might have had a similar kind of thought process that a lot of us have had, where, there was an idea in place, how it should be done. Obviously, I imagine being overruled by Shiri and co, but now he's probably thinking, well, hold on, is this the worst thing in the world, getting Ancelotti as the manager? I don't think it is. So, there's still... Look, I think we should try and keep it positive, because it's a positive pod. So maybe we can talk about it for another time. I think there has been a few things that have raised concern for me regarding Brands and how much of his input is actually listened to. But if we just kind of look at it as a great manager's come in, he works with director of football before, had good relationships with them. We hope that we've got a good director of football in place, and it could be a good partnership.
When Martinez came, he went and raised his Wigan.
Yeah.
When Silva came, he went back and raised his Watford. Yeah. We're expecting any Napoli players in the Everton team January, August?
Maybe, yeah. You don't know, do you?
There's one getting late already.
Do you think, seriously, do you think that Everton will now target that top calibre of player now because Ancelotti's in charge?
Yeah, in a word, yeah. I think they've obviously signified that. I mean, and this is another thing that kind of I'm intrigued by. I'm not so much worried by, because as we've always said, it's not our money. But you don't want the club to be saddled with a difficult financial legacy going forward. But this has also hinted at a significant shift in our financial thinking, hasn't it? Because under Brands and Silver, the model was sustainability, young players, trim the wage bill, and move forward like that. We were told that January was going to be a low-key window, not much spending, and so on and so forth. The accounts obviously aren't good. So with all that, it's going to be interesting because that feels like the rudder of the ship's just been turned right the other way, and there's your checkbook. Because these players, you're right, he's going to make it. That a lot of players will go, I fancy a bit of that. Zlatan Ibrahimovic been linked, hasn't he?
Of course, yeah.
As Ed said, there are players at Napoli already who are going to want to follow him. Players who will want to play from all over the world. We've got to match their wages. I mean, imagine Ibrahimovic's wages first and foremost.
You'll have to ship your Schneiderlins out, your Sigurdssons then, won't you?
But the easier said than done.
And
that's not going to be any easier.
It's still all those scream shortism, doesn't it? Really, like all of it.
But we've gone down the long term route before, didn't we? We all thought Silva was going to be the long term.
But we just haven't done it right, though, have we?
Yeah, but Koeman, we all thought Koeman was going to be the long term project. We thought Silva would be, and Martinez would be, and it never ever worked. So I think this is the first time that we're going to go, do you know what? There's a world class manager, as you said at the top of the podcast. These types of managers don't come along very often, especially that we can actually get. And now there's a world class manager out there, and we've actually got him.
Here's my best case scenario I'm hoping for now. I'm hoping that, because they've gone down this route, I hope he brings success, and by the time he leaves, saying if it is in 2 years, Everton are a top 6 side. They've got maybe 1 or 2 trophies, domestic stuff, back in Europe. Even if it's only, don't get me, we want the Champions League, but even if it's just Europa League consistently, become a European side, learn how to juggle that demand. And by the time he leaves, if we're in that state, I think we again can attract someone else and go from there and kind of build in that manner.
Well, it's an interesting one. Now that you've just said that, what do you think Moshiri's targets are for him? In the contract he's been given, what do you think his target is? Is it a trophy? Is it Champions League? What do you think the target he set him?
So it's a it's a multi-year contract, isn't it? So I don't know how much emphasis he would have put on this season, given where they are. I imagine he'd still be hoping for at least like a top 8 finish, but I think next season he'll be saying, look, we want Champions League football, or at least European football. I think next season he'll want European football, definitely, and he'll be wanting some silverware if possible.
What do you think's the target?
Yeah, same. I think he'll probably sensibly give him a little bit of leeway, although he'll want to push for the top 7. Because outside it's like 6, it still is tight, isn't it?
I'd say top 4, and then everything from there is anyone can.
So I think he'll say to him, get us up there.
Plus, if you're not going to bring in the short-term option, I know I keep saying short-term, I mean relative terms, not 2 or 3 years. You're not going to bring him in and then give him a 4 or 5 year plan, are you? 3 or 4. No. It's going to be like, bring it in, here's all the money. You can spend money in the transfer market as well, but in return we want to kind of see the club progress at
and equally speed. He's probably an interesting one as well. We can go into more length further down the road, but he's not probably going to have a remit, so you need to develop all these young players from the academy and give them a bedding in season and blah blah blah, is he? So the ramifications for some more younger players will be interesting. I only care if they're good enough, and if they're good enough, hopefully he'll be playing them. If they're not, they shouldn't be getting the team under any manager. Doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean? We've had to play them at times because, for whatever reason, there's been gaps in the squad and things like that. But there's no evidence that he can't develop talent. So let's say he gets the best Anthony Gordon, you can get more from Mason Holgate,
John Calvert-Lewin.
Transform him, Moise Keane.
This is where the loan market comes in, don't you think? Though, where it's obviously, look at Chelsea. I know they've took stick for it in the past, but they put Tammy Abraham out, Aston Villa. He blew smashed the Championship, fantastic. He's come straight into that team now, and now he's one of the top strikers in the Premier League, and that's what Everton need to do. The youth talent. If they've gone with this kind of business model with Ancelotti, I agree. You don't really start putting kids in there because it'll be tough. Just make sure you utilise them in the loan market to go out there and play football, and if they're good enough, they'll shine.
So, what a day when Ancelotti is announced as the Everton manager. What are you most excited about? You're excited about the type of players going to come in. Is it a CV? Is it now Everton are back not back in the big time, so to speak, but it puts Everton back on the map.
You know, for me, it's relevance again. Yeah, it's relevance. It's kind of knowing that manager's going to come in. He's going to put Everton back on the map again, and also I'm really big on two things. One, all the fans being on board, because with that support it helps, because I feel like Silva suffered a lot with obviously not many. It was a split fan base, wasn't it? Yeah. And secondly, I think he is guaranteed to get the best out of the players, and the players are going to respect him. I think they're two huge things, because this side of the week.
Before we wrap up, Greg, David's right there on relevance, isn't it? Because I've noticed over the last 2 weeks, because Duncan Ferguson's the manager, a lot of the national media are talking about us. We're second on Match of the Day. We've been on BT, we've been on Sky. I know these televised games are already penciled in, but we're getting a lot more coverage on the back pages because Duncan's running up and down the touchline, he's hugging ball boys. Now, Ancelotti's all of a sudden the Everton manager. Everton's relevance is going to go even further, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Like we said at the top of the programme, it's going to make world news. It's going to up the level of interest globally in Everton. It's going to appeal to the other markets that we're trying to break into in the Middle East, Far East, the United States. It's going to help raise our profile and our brand, and hopefully subsequently the players that it means we can attract will do that again. Like, you know, if we did get someone like Ibrahimovic, for example, whether he's a Premier League, you know, the same impact he had at United, it's going to put us even further so. And even if he doesn't arrive, there'll be, you'd imagine, some pretty big players attracted to Ancelotti's Everton. So it's hugely exciting, and relevance is probably the key word of the early part of this year.
And it's interesting, you just said that Ancelotti's Everton. Seems a bit surreal, doesn't it? But no better way to end the podcast and end the final podcast of the year, 2019. Very eventful. Started with Marco Silva, ends with Carlo Ancelotti. A lot of losses, a lot of wins, a lot of good times in there as well, a lot of bad times. But hopefully 2020 will bring us some good times. Starting with that Anfield derby. What a win that would be for Carlo and his men. Sissy, really appreciate all the feedback we've had over the past 12 months. Myself, David and Greg, a lot of hard work's gone in, so we appreciate all the feedback. Thanks to Seamus Coleman, who's been on the podcast, Tony Bellew, Joe Parkinson, Michael Ball, Joe Anderson, Rob Palmer, Jamie Carragher, Gareth Farrelly. Everton Football Club have been really good with us, haven't they? And obviously Dan Mice, when we had that fantastic show downstairs in the Bramley Moore. We'll have lots more shows booked in for 2020. Merry Christmas to all our viewers and listeners, and here's to Carlo Ancelotti's Everton. Thanks for tuning in.